Good evening. My name is Thurman Greco, and the name of this show is Let's Live with Thurman Greco, and it's coming to you from scenic downtown Woodstock, New York, and also from YouTube. And we are really excited about our guest this evening because I have to tell you that it's been a long, dry spell since we had a good political chat. And we've got us one now, and she's live, and she's here, and we locked the door. She can't run out early. So would you start off introducing yourself to the audience?
I'd be happy to. My name is Amy Fraden, and currently I'm the co-chair of the Woodstock Democratic Committee, and I'm also on Juan Figueroa's re-election campaign team, and I'm also an active member of Indivisible Ulster. So I have my hands full, to say the least.
Indivisible Ulster, what is that?
That is, there's various chapters of Indivisible all over the country, and Indivisible Ulster is the sort of founding group that started up after the first Trump election, and it was a core group of us, maybe 10 or 15 of us, and we continued on, and then after this last election, it just exploded. Now we have Indivisible New Paltz, Indivisible Saugerties, Indivisible Hurley Woodstock, I think, and Olive Action. There's a whole bunch of groups, including Indivisible Ulster in Ulster County, who do a lot of the work for the No Kings rallies and like that.
You know, that's a very interesting thing that you said. I've been completely unaware of your group. But I do remember that when Trump was elected the first time, the energy shift was dramatic. And people weren't talking about it. But I teach Reiki, and all of a sudden, it was like a mob scene. They were coming.
Yes.
And I felt like, okay, it's here. I can do something about it. I called up some of my students. And I just said, look, you didn't ask for this, but you're going to be a Reiki master teacher too. You need to teach. And now, in the last month, I have felt that surge. It's like we've been here, and this is where we started, but now it's there. Have you felt that in your Indivisible?
100%. Actually, we felt the surge just after in January is when it really started. I think people were pretty subdued and retracted contracted after the election last year. But starting in January, it was crazy. In fact, I have a friend who's in the founding Indivisible group down in Bentonville, Arkansas, and they went from 15 members to 1,500 members.
Yes.
In like a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And it's just been amazing. And then all of a sudden, again, I think that the problems with ICE have, maybe what they've been is so local and so visible and so palpably horrible that people who were not joining in finally realized that they just have to join in.
Yes.
This is serious business, what's happening.
But this is going to work out. Because it's like you probably did your practice run. We did our practice run. It's like when this hit, I started ramping up all kinds of classes and activities and all kinds of things that I hadn't done in a couple, 3 years. Right. And it's because I knew that I had to. It's not like I just thought it up. It's like, hey, it's here. You have to, that's your job. So you are also with the Woodstock Democratic Committee here in Woodstock.
Yes.
Well, let's finish this other thing. If somebody wants to get in Indivisible, how do they do it?
They can go to the Indivisible Ulster or Indivisible Hurley Woodstock or Indivisible Saugerties. They've all got Facebook presences, and so you can get in touch there.
Really?
Yep.
So it's as close as your Facebook page.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, that's fabulous. Okay, so that gives somebody who has some energy that they need to focus. It gives them a place to start.
Yes, and while we're here, I might as well just say that every Saturday there are rallies that you can go to in Woodstock at noon, in Saugerties at noon. in Kingston at 3. It's probably going to change with daylight savings. And Olive in Shokan on the stretch of 28 there in Shokan. That's also at noon on Saturdays. And then we have the huge No Kings coming up on March 28th. And those rallies are always places to get involved further. You know, people are there with clipboards, or, you know, there are leaders from all sorts of different groups there that you can get more involved with.
Really?
In terms of activism. And I think that rallies are always a sort of a good entrance level way to get involved. We can talk more about what's involved in electoral work, because that's really what the Democratic Committee's purview is. Sometimes I think people are daunted by that, but you know, well, why don't we talk about that?
Okay,
at some point. But I mean, not necessarily now, but during the course of our conversation.
Yes.
But not to be daunted. Go to a rally, bring a sign, make your own sign, and have a presence, because we consider those rallies to be the sort of number one thing, the number one alternative news outlet that we have in America at this point in time. It used to be when we were younger, right? When we were kids, there was Walter Cronkite, and there was, you know, Huntley and Brinkley, and everybody was watching the same news sources. I mean, there really wasn't a lot of deviance between those stations and coverage. And now we just have this, you know, insane entertainment news media and social media. So we figure we, the people who are you know, on the front line, we know all of our candidates. We know local, we know county, we know state, we know our federal, congressional, and Senate people, and we know the issues that are happening. We know the votes that are up in all of these offices, and we're out there on the side of the road saying, watch out for food stamps, watch out for SNAP, watch out for Medicare. Be aware this is happening with ICE, with democracy, and we are the front line of news reporting for most of our neighborhoods. And so it's a really important thing to do, to get out there with a good sign and let your neighbors know that something's happening, you know?
And I'm getting the feeling from you that you don't have to just live in the Hudson Valley for this to be happening.
Oh no, what's so exciting. There's, I don't know if any of the listeners are familiar with Substack on the internet. Substack has a lot of alternative newsletters by writers like Heather Cox Richardson and Jessica Craven and Robert Hubble. And Robert Hubble, at the end of his daily newsletter, always posts pictures from all over the country of little small rallies, you know, little pop-up rallies, and the ones people are doing on overpasses. And we have a little rally here that some of us organized in Daisy, New York, which is the corner of Glasgow and West Saugerties. And every Friday we go out there, a bunch of us neighbors, like 5 or 8 of us at the most, and we hold our signs up, and we get, you know, dozens of honks, and we figure we're doing our part. So those rallies, they're happening everywhere. And when you're getting overwhelmed with what you're hearing on the news, and you should be, it's designed for that, and it's true. The underreported part is how many people are out there working tirelessly now to right this ship everywhere.
Well, that's what it takes in a democracy.
Yes, it does.
It takes everybody.
It sure does.
You know,
Yeah.
when people start saying, "Well, I don't have time for this,"
Nope.
that's when things sink.
When you don't have time to brush your teeth, you get cavities.
That's true.
End of story.
That's great. So, how long have you been in the Woodstock Democratic Committee?
Well, as we were figuring last year, it looks to be that I've been in it for 11 years.
Good show.
Yeah, 11 years.
And you said you're also working for Figueroa.
Yes, I've been in all 3 of his, this is his 3rd election campaign, re-election now. And we're a very happy and close team, and we've sort of followed him the whole way.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That must make him a special person.
He's pretty special. He's a pretty amazing person. I mean, how many how many counties would just give anything to have a sheriff who tries this hard and who's as open-minded and open-hearted as Sheriff Figueroa? Yeah.
So if somebody wants to get involved in politics, say you like the sheriff, how do you connect up?
Yeah, it's a good question. So let's just stay local with that. Can I?
I'd like for you to.
Okay. So first of all, most of the activist groups have online presences. Most town committees, Democratic town committees, have online presences. The Woodstock Democratic Committee does. It's www.woodstockdems.org, and we have places there to contact us, right? Most of us are local, so you're going to see us around anyway, and so you get in touch that way. If you want to do something like join a Democratic committee, you can just come to a committee meeting and see what it's all about. I mean, I think I encourage people to come and see what it is, get involved with some of the activities and see if it fits with you, and then you can ask to join, and there's a little vote. You can also collect petition signatures to get on. In fact, you have to every 2 years. A committee member, as a Democratic Party member, has to get signatures from other Democrats, registered Democrats. But anyway, the Democratic Committee's job, and I just want to make this clear to people, is it's slightly different than the job of activist groups. And there's a lot of, sometimes there's tension about this amongst people, but the true job of a Democratic Committee is the electoral work to get Democrats elected. It's not to go out and protest specific issues, although Democratic voters, committee and non-committee, ought to be out there protesting everything. But committee, members of the Democratic Committee don't always share viewpoints exactly. So it's hard to get issue-oriented. So we are candidate-oriented, and our job is to do everything in our power to let our voters know who is running for office, and provide them with forums and debates and meet and greets, and inform them about petition signing, which is going on right now to get candidates on the ballot. And of course, that involves fundraising and lots of door knocking and phone calling and all of that. And producing a newsletter, and it's a full-time job. But we're very flexible with our members. If somebody has a special talent, we can use their talent, and that's their contribution. It's all different. But I don't know how in the weeds you want to get about what the Democratic Committee's jobs are, but that's it. So, and that's fundamentally it. And the activist group's job is to bring awareness to issues, to injustices, to legislation that we want passed to make things better. They also support candidates, depending on whether they feel, affinity for the candidates. And it does a lot of the same jobs, but we're not party specific.
When the first thing I did when I moved to Woodstock was I found the meeting times of the Woodstock Democratic Committee. Mm-hmm. And at the time, they were meeting in the old Center of Photography. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've been gone from there. It's not even that anymore. And I would go to the meetings, and often I would be the only one there in the audience.
Yes.
And after a while, Michael Paycut came, and the two of us would sit, and we were the only ones in the audience, and I loved the meetings. Oh. And I loved Michael Paycut. He was the only one. He kept calling me Mrs. Greco. Aww. And it was so delightful. And then before I knew it, I was sitting on the other side of the table. And then it became something else. And I don't know if you're looking for members or not. When you talk about canvassing for voters and you go get signatures, I love doing that.
Yeah.
I had Bearsville Flats.
Oh, great.
And I would go and knock on the door.
ED4.
I'm
in District 4.
Yeah, right.
Well,
And
it's
then they
4,
moved me,
yeah.
I think, to 9, which was out in the sticks.
Yes.
But I had Bearsville Flats, and I would go and I would knock on the door and get the signatures. And that's where you really get to meet the people.
You do. And we have a program now that the county started, and actually I was one of the founding members of, called Neighbor to Neighbor Voter Outreach. And it's a different model of canvassing in that some of the purpose of it is to really build and engage our Democratic committees across the county. But it's also to replace transactional canvassing, where you go to the door and you say, hey, I'm stumping for this candidate, and do you support my candidate on a scale of 1 to 5, yes, maybe, no, blah, 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 whatever the scale is that they have. Those are called survey questions and IDs, identifications about voters. And we wanted to get away from that. So we started a program called Neighbor to Neighbor that's based on relational canvassing. And relational canvassing is obviously more relational, and you're making a connection with your neighbors, the people in your neighborhood, your election district, and you go back to the same voters over and over for each election cycle. And you make friends, you build community. It's really fun.
It is.
And more people, way more people are friendly at the door. In fact, we're invited in for tea and coffee and cookies, and people want to show us their artwork or their, whatever it is. And I've made so many friends in my little area from neighbor to neighbor. And it just builds our party, it builds our confidence, it builds voter turnout like crazy. Because people are really tired in our transactional world. People are tired of, I want to know what you're going to give me.
Right.
It's marketing. They want to be part of something, and civics, it's just something that knits us all together that I don't think in modern day we've remembered. My parents grew up with that. They'd be both about 100 now. So, but our current atmosphere doesn't have much about civic engagement and civic duty. This country will not work unless its citizens are engaging with each other. So we have an organized program called Neighbor to Neighbor, and if anybody's listening there and they think maybe, they would like to do it with us, we sure would love it. We'd love the help. We have a lot of fun together, and our voters, for the most part, really appreciate us. So, and Woodstock's a leader too. We have one of the bigger Neighbor to Neighbor programs, and we also have a bigger turnout because of that.
One of the things that I have missed in the last years is that I have a booth at the Mowers Meadow Flea Market, and I've had it. It started off, it's a fundraiser actually for the hungry, but we used to have a booth, where you could meet with the people, and so it was a nice way to become a part of the community. And I think that is essential, because when you work with the Democratic Committee, one of the things that you're supposed to do is figure out who are you going to back, who is the best candidate. Well, if you don't know your community,
you can't do that.
Right.
Yeah, you can't.
So it's extremely important that you know people.
Yeah.
And so I think that's so important.
I agree with you. Yeah, you have to know, you have to be a part of your community. And plus, candidates, people, get inspired to run in their community more, when they're more engaged. It's actually really, really hard to find candidates. People just don't want to step up to that kind of service, and when it gets a little contentious, that further makes it difficult for people to want to step up. They're afraid of conflict and whatever. But boy, we need a much bigger field of candidates to pick from, potential candidates to pick from. Voters need that. It's really important.
So when is the next meeting of the Woodstock Democratic Committee?
We meet on the second Wednesday of every month at the community center, although I believe we have to change the venue, and I don't know where that's going to be. And if you want to come to the meeting, you can email us at info@woodstockdems.org. Or is it .com? Try either. I can't remember offhand. And so we know to expect you. And it's funny you said that you used to enjoy the meetings. I don't feel like that's the best way to get to know us, because the meetings for us, we have subcommittees, and the subcommittees do all of the juicy work. And those regular meetings are sort of more to let everybody know they're sort of more administrative in a sense, But if somebody is really interested in either, voter education or communications or voter outreach, which is the neighbor program, or fundraising, they would be happy to have them come to one of those subcommittee meetings. Even though a Democratic committee is a political thing, and we do stuff like deciding to endorse or not, and what else do we do that's strictly political?
I did a lot of trying to get money. That was a big deal.
But what I'm saying is that even though we have a sort of straight political duty, like getting the petition signed or endorsing candidates, most of the work is about voter outreach and all of the ways that we can educate and inform and meet and engage our voters. And that happens through media, through education, through events, so that's the juicy part of being on the committee. I'm not saying don't come to a monthly meeting, I just don't think that's really exciting. It's more exciting to get more involved in a specific lane that you like.
Well, we didn't have so many subcommittees back then, but that was like 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, the meetings were extremely juicy. And it was a hoot. I looked forward to every one. It was getting to know the town, and the board members were taking things, they felt things, it was important.
Yes, yeah.
And you could see it, And so it was something that I looked forward to.
That's nice.
And I wouldn't even know how to find a subcommittee.
Well, you'd find that through me. I'm saying that's what you would do. These are subcommittees of the Woodstock Democratic
How many
Committee.
subcommittees have you got?
You've got 4.
What are they?
They're fundraising, communications, voter outreach, and voter education.
Well, I was Ralph Gano and I were we spent hours raising money.
There you go. So you were the
fundraising.
You were the fundraising subcommittee.
That is what gives you the connection to your community.
Yes. Yeah, it's nice. And they we just did a fundraiser, a letter campaign, which we've barely ever done, and it was very, very well received. And all of those donations, small or large, well, they're going to turn into stamps and envelopes, but the cost of postage is absurd, But we try to do the outreach through mail and through emails. Of course, we have our newsletter. You can actually sign up for our newsletter on the website. But most of the cost of our operations have to do with voter outreach, right? And voter education, putting on events, paying for the venue, getting it, we oftentimes videotape, all sorts of stuff. But anyway, it is really great that our community, our Democratic community, steps up to help us do that. And honestly, you know, and one of the things I think we're also learning in America is that teamwork matters. And if you don't help out with your team, there's a few people who it's going to be left to. And if we don't, for example, fundraise, or people don't join our canvassing, our neighbor-to-neighbor program, or people don't help us write letters or postcards, guess what? 5 or 10 people end up doing all of the work and making all the donations. And that's just not very democratic. It's more fun with more people.
It is. We had a
Yeah.
traveling yard sale. And,
That's great.
and you know, it would go from one member's house to the next member's, and then we had a yard sale at one of the firehouses, and then
Love that.
we went all over.
I'm going to get you onto our
Well, and the thing
Our
is
committee.
that we didn't have to, well, you know, you meet the people.
Yeah.
And I can remember somebody coming up. I had a yard sale, because I live on Tannery Brook. I had a yard sale in my parking lot, and somebody came up and said, you know, this is a really crummy place. I hope you don't do this anymore. You know, this location is really crummy. I don't. And you know, it was funny. I was laughing, and I would come home sometimes, and I'd find bags of donations at my front door.
Aw,
You know?
that's such a nice story. I love that.
It is. Oh, I have
Yeah.
wonderful stories about Woodstock Democratic Committee. It was so important, and it is so important now that I think it's important not only because of the job that the people do at the Woodstock Democratic Committee, but it is important for people in this community to know that we have a Woodstock Democratic Committee,
Yes.
and that it works.
Yes, it does. It's
And
good to
you
hear.
know, it's okay to have a crummy yard sale because that's something that's part of the process.
Mhm. Yes.
You can't just be a faceless something. You have to be
Yeah.
an action.
And we're not,
You have to
you know,
be a
we're,
voice.
we're not slick, like, we're not a many thousands-dollar operation, you know? And the people who join the committee aren't always, you know, we don't always have skill sets in areas that you might need that could help you be better, you know?
Right.
So then we hope that we can find volunteers who will help us, you know? It's not a professional thing. We're not getting paid, and the people who help us aren't paid. So it's all, you know, who has what talent or what skill, and how can we piece that all together. But yeah, no, I love the small town feel of it. And you remind me to talk a little bit about the Democratic Party, you know, as a whole. I know a lot of us feel frustration with the greater Democrats, the greater term Democrats. You know, you hear people saying, "Oh, the Democrats this and the Democrats did that," and you know. And I just offer to people to consider what they actually mean when they say that, because we're a huge party, as they say, we're a big tent. We have more diversity of thought and religion and color and skill and income level, gender. You know, we have more diversity in this party by millions far than the Republican Party. And so to get all of that variety of people to agree is a big trick. And I think people get so frustrated sometimes with decisions that they just automatically go, oh, them, you know, oh, the Democrats did that, or the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, you know, and yes, there is room for improvement and room to make everything more democratic. But it's also, there's also several pieces to that, and that is that once you are in charge of something, you have to see the bigger picture, and you're getting information and opinions from all different walks. And then you got to figure out a way to put that together to make it work for your whatever you're doing for your party. You know, people approach me sometimes with opinions they have about something, they don't realize that just the day before I got somebody who approached me with the exact opposite opinion. And so what do I do as a chair or as a co-chair to put that all together and make it work for the greater amount of people or whatever, or for the cause? And so I feel that way when I think of the National Democrats. Like that's a whole big, huge bunch of people, a whole bunch of senators, a bunch of Congress people, Democratic committee members, and there's a lot of diversity of thought and action there too. So, but the other piece is that if we don't like what we're seeing, I think the first thing to do is to look at yourself and ask, did you participate over the last bunch of years in anything that had to do with politics or elections at all? And so many times people don't know who they're voting for, or they haven't voted. So we have the leaders we have, and it's not too bad considering, and they're often, most of them are doing the best they can do considering all the pressures and options they have. But if we don't like them, we don't need to hate them, but we need to do something about getting somebody else elected. And then if we don't get the person we want, we still have to stick together and try and get that person to move the dial a bit. And I just, all I've seen over these last 11 years is just for my own self, the amount of catch up I had to play to get involved so late, and how much I didn't know, and how many times I abdicated my own ability to find out what was going on to somebody else and said, tell me who to vote for, or there is so much work to do from bottom to top, and but the Democratic Party as a whole is wholly different than the Republican Party. I mean, just take women's rights, abortion, ICE, what are some other, the environment, we're not climate deniers. I mean, it goes on and on. We are a very different option. That doesn't mean all of our officials vote the way we want all the time. But we're a worthy party to get involved in and make better.
Well, I think also, in New York State, we are in a wonderful place. Mm-hmm. Because for one thing, isn't there a place where if you're a woman and you decide you don't like what's going on and you're going to you're going to get involved, aren't there classes you can go to if you want to run for something?
Yeah, there are. In fact, in Ulster County, our Ulster County Board of Elections has, right now, actually, I think on their landing page, they have candidate information. We also have Eleanor's Legacy, which is a group that endorses women candidates. And, I think you just can contact your local Democratic committee and say, I'm a woman and I want to run, and your committee will help you with that. Even though our committee on occasion chooses to endorse, and sometimes we don't, there's a lot of different things that go into that consideration. We'll sit down and talk to any candidate and help them figure out how to best run their campaign.
But isn't there someplace in Albany where women can go and take classes?
I don't know about that. It might be Eleanor's Legacy. I don't know about that.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It just seems to me that there's a place to go.
I think you could probably Google that or ask the Ulster County Board of Elections. They will steer you to places like that. Yep.
Yeah, so you're not just left bald,
yes,
to try to do something.
Yeah.
And I think it's extremely important. I also think, what do you say when somebody says to you, well, I don't vote? I mean, I've run across people like that.
Oh, yes. It's the hardest one for me of all of them. That's harder for me than Trump voters. Because Trump voters actually sometimes listen and consider other things.
Really?
Yep. I've had a lot of conversations with Trump voters where I've said, yeah, I kind of agree with you, but did you know blah, blah, blah? And they go, really? And the ones who have decided not to vote I mean, I don't want to say, because maybe somebody listening decided not to vote, I don't want to put a thought into your head about it, you know, or tell you who you are. But my experience is that there are people who have just given up, and their strategy of, they're angry, frustrated, and not voting is either seen as a punishment to the parties or the elected officials, or it's seen as potentially getting a message through to them. And I'm here to tell you that it gets no message through. I know elected officials, all they do is go, why aren't they voting? You know, that's all they do. It doesn't change how they think.
What are you talking
So-
about voting?
Yeah.
The person who tells me I'm not voting, I just shut up, because in my heart I just want to say, well, in that case you can't say anything, because if you don't vote you can't say anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is I think that people are under the misconception that when you don't vote you are saying something.
But you're
I
not.
can tell you, from having been on numerous campaigns and knowing numerous elected officials and being in the Democratic Party nonstop for 11 years, that I can't remember a time when any single person or team said they were going to listen to the people who didn't vote. They don't know what to listen to. It's more
There's
of
nothing to hear.
There's nothing there except what's the word? Resistance to
Right.
joining in.
There's nothing to hear.
And I, you know, I would love to sit here with people who don't want to vote and see what they would say. But I recently had somebody at a gathering who was angry because in New York State we have party-based primaries, and they were citing a state that had open primaries. And so I said, yes, we do have party primaries in New York, so if you don't choose to register in our party with all that you believe in, and this person was certainly believing the same things that we were, you will have no voice in the candidates that get chosen by the rest of the voters, and you won't have participated in that at all. You're at the mercy of the rest of the voters who are voting. And I said, and furthermore, if you really want open primaries in New York State, then you and whoever else feels that way has to actually go about it
And get it to happen.
and get it
Make
done.
it happen.
If you think it can get done, then work at it. Don't blame me, because I'm in the party
Work at it,
and
yeah.
I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do. That's what democracy is. If you don't like something, you have to be willing to put yourself out to help make it change. And isn't this true in our primary relationships and in our families? And it is also true everywhere else, that we can't mistreat each other. We can't take our marbles and go home when we're upset. We have to find ways towards solutions and weather a lot, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of emotion that goes along with how our governance should go.
Listen, and I say this because I've lived in a couple of foreign countries. Having a government where you have to vote and where you have to participate is a luxury. It is a luxury. Because when you live in a surroundings where you have a dictator, you have no say. You have no say.
You can't believe, I had dinner with somebody once. This was way a long time ago. But that person had come from, maybe it was Haiti, maybe. Anyway, they'd come from a country that had a dictator. And she was now married to an American, and she could vote here. She'd gotten her citizenship. And she said, I don't vote. And I said, why? She said, because in my country of origin, they made me vote. And now I don't have to, so I'm not gonna. And I couldn't. I really just did. I was
Yeah.
You can tell I don't get
Even
speechless,
now,
but
yeah.
I was speechless. I had no idea what to say, you know. Fortunately, she leaned towards the side that I'm not interested in, but
What,
oh my God.
talking about voting, what's going to happen? We got a big mess here, don't we?
Yeah, we
How are we
do.
dealing with it locally?
Well, I can tell you this, that I think you all saw in the Kingston Freeman that our Board of Elections was contacted by the DOJ. Our Board of Elections is not at liberty to talk about that yet, but I will tell you that both our Democrat and Republican commissioners are working hard on it. Our Democratic commissioner is the president of election commissioners, Board of Elections commissioners in the state, and she is in connection with out-of-state others, and they are talking about this a lot. And we have an incredible Board of Elections here in Ulster County. They are efficient and they're fierce, and they're not going to let anything happen to us if it's at all within their purview, their capability. And they work closely. The Democratic commissioner works very closely with the Democratic Party on election stuff, and so I think we're in good shape for that. And I will say that countrywide, this is why I tell everybody to come out to all these rallies, because that's our practice. Because if it comes to it in November and it looks like we're going to really have to do something drastic to ensure that that getting to vote is safe, we're going to need to be able to lock arms in huge numbers near our polling sites, and just make sure that people get to the polls safely. I don't foresee that happening here in Ulster County, but I think some of the red states, are going to have that problem, and maybe some of the bigger cities where they're trying to suppress the vote, where they will try to suppress Democratic vote.
Well, the thing is, I'm hearing that if you don't have the right identification,
Yes.
I'm just such. First of all, I'm a transplant. I come to New York State by choice, so I sort of have a tendency to say, well, New York does it right. I mean, I just walk in and vote.
Yeah.
I tell them my name. They
Yeah.
got the signature. They got it's together.
Yeah.
But now I don't have a passport, and I haven't had one in years. And all of a sudden now I have to have a passport,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to have one.
I'm not sure if that's not a New York State law. That's the SAVE Act that they're trying to pass. I have a feeling it might not make it through the SAVE Act, which would be great. And the SAVE Act is going to come down hard on women.
Yeah.
And I mean, not just women, but women, because if you've been married and you've changed your name,
Yeah,
you're going
right.
to have to prove who you are with a birth certificate when you go to register to vote, which means that when you even just move, like if you move from, Saugerties to Rosendale, you have to change your registration. You'd have to have your proof of identity. It's definitely voter suppression, it definitly is. So, but, this is where
So
take
with
the
the
time
SAVE
to
Act, you need a birth certificate.
you would need, would need stuff, proof. Yes, you would need proof. So again, this brings us to what can you as a citizen do? At the very, very least, you can show up at rallies, and you can also get the number, and you can get it on the internet anywhere. Any of the elected officials .gov sites will give you the phone numbers to your Congress people and your state people and everybody, your senators, and call them and say, please protect our voting rights. Please, and if you don't know the name of the bill, it doesn't matter. They can translate that to Senate Bill 2000 or
Right.
whatever. Just call as often as you can. We've been told that 15 calls from constituents a day puts a topic on the top of their list. And we have
Only 15.
only 15 a day. And let me tell you, we have, in Ulster County, we have a thing called calls to electeds, calls to action it was called, but now it's called CTE. And My group alone in Woodstock has 50 people who make a weekly call to all sorts of, the Indivisible groups put the action calls together, and they're all about legislation, and you can join those. You can reach me through the info@woodstockdems.org site. Just say, Amy, I want to find out more about the CTEs. I don't want to give my email here on the.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But if you want to join that call to action group, you can. But even if you don't, if you're listening to the TV at night and you feel like you want to throw a shoe at the TV, don't. Write the topic down, find your senator or congressman's number, and call. That's what you can do.
That's the same as pitching the shoe at the TV.
Yes, and that, by the way, if people remember John Hall, who was in Orleans, and he was our congressman for one term. Do you remember John Hall from Saugerties? Anyway, he said when he got into Congress and I saw him at a show, and I said, John, how is it being in Congress? He goes, oh, it beats throwing my sneaker at the TV every night.
Well,
so
that is one of the things, because when you get frustrated, you begin to feel helpless.
Totally. And it's not good to be helpless.
Right.
It's not good.
And the best way, and so the thing that runs up to the vote is the telephone call. That is kind of like the pre-vote.
That's right.
That is the pre-vote. And I think that that's an important thing to try to impress upon people. And what about if your language, what about if your first language is Spanish? What do you do?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, but I mean, since our elected officials all have constituents who speak all sorts of languages, I would imagine they've got, the capability to take a call in a different language. You can also email them from their official sites, from their official office sites. So you would go to patryan.gov, I guess it would be, and Pat Ryan's our congressman, and you can email them, and then you just email in whatever language you speak.
But the phone call is really what we need.
Yeah, but emails are good. But phone calls are better, but emails are good. Let me be clear, the hierarchy of what works in general is in person is the best thing you can possibly do for voter outreach. Phone calling is also really good. Letters and postcards, good.
And voting is tops.
Voting is tops no matter what.
Phone calls.
When it comes to elected officials, calling is the best thing.
Okay.
Writing is good, and emails are good.
Okay. So I think the important thing to impress is that, don't throw the shoe, just call the person.
Don't throw the shoe. That's a good.
I
want to get a button that says "Don't throw the shoe." See my little button here.
Oh wow!
You want to read it out loud?
Fed up, get engaged. Ask me about the Woodstock Democratic Committee. Oh, that's cute. We didn't have anything like that when of course I was on the committee back in the dark ages. Well, now.
One more thing. Keep your thought. I just want to say, don't throw a shoe, make a call. For people out there, and I meet so many people who are shy, like really shy, or they really think they're no good at stuff, or they really think they're too busy. Literally, making a call can take all of 5 minutes at the very, very most. You can be completely inarticulate and just go, I hate ice, and that's enough. Right? That's enough of a call. They sort through it. They know the topic. You don't have to be perfect. In fact, I think the more imperfect you are, the better, because it shows that you're like really we the people. So and
that's the sincerity that goes through
totally
in the sound of the voice.
We the people.
That's
I
the
didn't mean to
emotion.
interrupt you. What were you
No. I want to know what's happening in our area with the ice.
I don't think they have been here, and we've had a couple of incidents with them. I don't want to minimize it at all, but compared to what happened in Minnesota, we don't have that. We have a lot of people working citizen power working to make sure that things are okay. I don't feel equipped to talk about all of that, but you can go to Ulster Immigrant Defense Network, UIDN, or Woodstock Immigrant Defense, and you can ask more questions if you want to get more
Listen,
involved.
the
in
fact that you don't feel qualified is a positive statement. That is a positive statement. If we really had, you would be saying different things. So I'm grateful to hear that. I do know that it's really interesting. One of the things that I've been doing is I have been, whenever a community gets inundated and it's in the newspapers or on the computer, I look at their T-shirts that they're selling. And it's really interesting. In the beginning, for Minneapolis, they were just selling T-shirts. Well, now you can get a T-shirt that's got ice on the cover. You see, the community is changing.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Everything's changing because of all of this. I mean, everything. You mentioned the word community, and that's the other thing I just want to say to people is that one of the beauties of this is the networks of communities and people working together to save the trajectory of our country is really beautiful. And I don't know, I choose every day to wake up and tune into that. I don't tune into, I get affected by the division I see. I'm not real thrilled with our legacy media. I still don't like I don't like that it's so imbued with opinion and crass divisiveness. So I get my news from other sources, from Substack, and from locally I get it from the actual, people that are making the news, our comptroller, our county exec, our sheriff. But mostly I just wake up in the morning and I can't wait to get to work, because for the most part it's pretty neat to be doing this with everybody, and I don't feel lonely, I don't feel as frightened, because I feel like there's so many others in the boat with me. All of the people watching who I don't know, I'm sure many of you feel the same way I do, so you're there. I just don't see any reason to tune into what's terrible all the time. We know it's there, but we can create our own realities.
Well, I think one of the problems that we have is that, well, it's not a problem, but it's a communication issue we have, is you've got a group of people that are, for whom life is okay. I'm okay, you're okay. But then there's another group of people who are just not okay.
Suffering, yeah.
And we have to work with that.
Yeah.
And on the plus, the communities that you have spoken about, and this brings us back down to us. Woodstock is a wonderful community if you want to get involved.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Saugerties, Kingsland, all of these
Ulster County is.
Yeah, it really is. The Hudson Valley is.
Yeah.
And so you can't just feel like, well, I'm just not doing anything you do make a statement. And your vote does count, your opinion does count. When you stand on the curb on Saturday,
Counts.
it does count.
Yes, it does.
I'm not sure that it would on Westchester.
Yes, it does. It does everywhere.
I know, but
Yeah.
here it's really obvious.
Yes, yeah.
And I know that when I first came here, I came from the Washington D.C. metro area, and I came here and I decided that what I wanted to do was to see more voter registration. that was a project that I was able to carry out. One
great.
person.
Yeah.
And so if a person, no matter what your agenda is, if you want to do something, you can do it.
100%. Really, like 100%. No matter how small the act, all of it contributes to the greater energy that's out there, you know?
And you know, it doesn't take that much money either.
It takes no money sometimes.
Right. You don't have to be rich.
No, not at all. You don't have to be rich and you don't have to be educated. Educated in a particular way. You don't have to know a lot of what's going on. You just have to have a heart and know what's maybe it is somewhat of the difference between what's right and wrong, you know? It's wrong to treat people badly. It's wrong to tear the East Wing off of the White House without asking us.
Oh.
You know, like that's wrong.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Do you think that's going to get rebuilt?
Oh, I can't believe how hard I took that. But it's like it's our history, you know?
Right.
It was none of his
He
business.
He didn't even try to save what was there.
No.
He just destroyed
And
it.
he doesn't care how we feel. And anyway, we digress.
No, but you know, I just wonder. But I think if you are out here and you're in the Hudson Valley, or if you are somebody who's watching this show on YouTube, if you have an opinion and you think something should be in a different way, in this country you can make it happen.
That's right. Or you can be part of it happening, or you can make it happen. You can generate it, or you can follow towards it.
Yeah,
But you
can be a part.
you have the ability to take some sort of an action in the midst of your busy life or whatever. You know, on one of the newsletters I read, there's a reader who is, I think she's 88 years old and she has terminal cancer, and she is right in there. She just writes every day. She can't do much anymore, but she's determined to do whatever she can until she passes away. And I just love reading her posts, you know. And she's freaked out about what's going on, but she just does the work, you know. It makes her feel better,
Right.
to be part of it.
But I think sometimes, I know that sometimes I think, why aren't you voting? What's standing in the way?
Yeah.
And then I realize that sometimes, on a certain level, it's because you think nobody is counting your vote.
You think that you don't matter.
Right.
Yeah, and
But
that is
you
not
really,
true.
you
Everyone
really
matters.
do.
Yeah.
You really do. And so I think that's one of the reasons that New York State has been so positive for me, because I have been able to see in my life in New York State that the change that I make, it counts.
It counts, 100%. It does. And look what you're doing here.
Yeah.
This is-
I didn't think this one up. I didn't think this one up. We can thank Terry Rosenblum for this one.
Oh, that's great.
This was our project.
That's great. Well, it's a good one.
and God, Terry, but you know, when you have an election coming up, you've got to have people who are running.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
people who run for office do make a difference. And when you have a crew, if you have assembled a crew that is supporting you, that makes a difference.
Yes, it does. It does. Every action taken towards some positive goal makes a difference.
Right.
Every action. And we can't afford to sit back, to go to sleep, to hide. We just can't afford to. And I firmly believe there's more of us out there, you know, who want a country based on decency and fairness than there are other. And we just have to join hands.
You know, the thing is that sometimes when Democrats talk about Well, but we're all so different, and everybody's so different in the Democratic Party. I think that's part of the attraction.
Mm-hmm. Of course it is. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Would I really like to sit in a Woodstock Democratic meeting and everybody looked just like me?
No.
You know? Oh, we only have 1 minute. Oh, thank you so much. Listen, we got 1 minute left. Tell everybody how to get in touch if they want to participate.
www.woodstockdems.org. Go there, and from there you can email us, and you can also get on our email list, which is really important. We do send a lot of local information on candidates, on elections, on forums, on blah, 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 everything. So please join our email list. We never share it. It will only be for the Woodstock Democratic Committee's work with you. And if you want to volunteer, you can email from there and just say, hey, Amy, I saw you on Thurman's show, and I'm interested in getting involved. And I will get in touch with you, and we'll have tea and figure out where the best place for you will be, where you're most comfortable and what we need, and we'll take it from there. And yeah, we would love to have you, and you don't have to join the committee to be involved. That's the other thing. Some people just don't want to join a committee, but we have a lot of volunteers who help us, so please, And then you can also go to the Ulster County Democratic Committee sites. That's ucdems.org, I believe, and also ulstervotes.org, which is our sort of campaign, the Ulster County Democratic Committee's campaign site. And then, as we talked about before, if you're interested in Indivisible, you can just go to the Indivisible Ulster Facebook page and contact us from there. What else? Mobilize. Just look up Mobilize, and that has all the events that are happening in the area, that are rallies and whatnot. And there are calendars associated with Woodstock Democratic Committee and Ulster County Democratic Committee that have all sorts of campaign events. This program will be aired, well, this is live now, so this Sunday at 33 Rock City Road, we're having a petition signing party, and we're going to have a lot of, I think every candidate that we have is going to be there. Well, not the governor candidates, but Pat Ryan will be there, Michelle Hinchy, Sarah Hannes-Resta, Juan Figueroa, our legislators, and all of our town candidates as well. Judy Nofel, who's running for County Circuit Court. So come 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock and sign a petition which helps our candidates get onto the ballot. That's how our process works. So your signature on a petition is what helps our candidates get onto the ballot. So come Sunday and help us with that. And otherwise, we'll be knocking on your door this month to get those signatures. Bear with us, invite us in for cookies and tea, and give us your signatures.
Thank you very, very much.
Amy, say where to go to.
I did 33 Rock City Road, Sunday at 1, from 1 to 4. Yeah.
And thank you very much, Ellen.
Yes.
Ellen is the one that makes the program happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thurman.